The great chamber of the Galaxy Council was a silent and grand place. It was built to make any being who entered feel small. The air itself seemed heavy with age and power. Representatives from dozens of species filled the space. Some were blobs of light. Others had many legs or hard shells. They were all old, powerful races. They had ruled the galaxy in peace for 1,000 years. In the very center of this vast room was a simple, flat platform. This was where the humans had to stand. It was a special allowance for their kind, because they were still bound by simple gravity. They were the newest members of the council. They had only been part of this great union for 100 years. To the others, they were like children. 3 humans stood on the platform. The man in the center was named Jin. He was the ambassador for all of humanity. He stood very straight, his hands held together behind his back. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp and serious. To his left was a woman named Hana. She was his aide, and she held a data slate tightly. Her knuckles were white. To his right was another man named Su. He was also an aide, and he watched the alien faces around them, looking for any reaction. The one who spoke was not a creature of flesh and blood. It was a being of pure, shimmering light. It was called a luminarian. It was the council proctor, the leader of this meeting. Its voice was not a sound, but a thought that appeared directly in their minds. It was a cold and smooth thought. The petition from the human race is now heard. The proctor's voice said in their heads, "You seek permission. Permission to activate a project you call the Titan Womb. This request is denied." Jin did not flinch. He had expected this. "With respect, Council Proctor, the Titan Womb is not a weapon. It is a tool for creation. It will let us build great ships and stations faster than ever before. It will help us reach the stars you keep from us." A ripple of what felt like amusement moved through the chamber. The other species found this funny. A large reptilian creature, a Cathar, hissed softly. Its tongue flicked out. "Your tools are our nightmares, little human," its translator box sputtered. "You play with things you do not understand. Nanomachines that build themselves? Artificial minds that guide them? This is forbidden. It is the law, the great peace." This was the rule that held the galaxy together. 1,000 years ago, the great races had fought a terrible war. To stop the fighting, they made a pact. They all agreed to stop developing dangerous new technologies. They would all use the same safe old technology forever. This had kept peace, but it had also frozen everyone in place. No one had invented anything truly new in centuries. "The great peace is a cage," Jin said, his voice louder now. It echoed in the quiet chamber. "It does not let any race grow. It does not let us become more than we are. Humanity did not come to the stars to sit still. We demand the right to evolve. We demand the right to use our own science." The word demand caused another ripple through the chamber. This one was not amusement. It was shock. Then anger. The proctor's light pulsed brightly. "You do not demand anything here. You are guests. You are lucky to be here at all. Your history is a history of war and anger. You are not ready for such power. The answer is no. The Titan Womb is forbidden. This discussion is over." Hana looked down at her data slate. The message was clear. They had lost. She felt a cold weight in her stomach. They had worked for years on this proposal, but Jin was not done. He took a small step forward. Every alien eye and sensor was fixed on him. "Then the human race has no choice," Jin said. His words were clear and sharp like breaking glass. "Humanity hereby withdraws from the Galactic Compact. We are leaving the Council, effective from this moment." For a second there was absolute silence, the kind of silence that exists in the vacuum of space. No one had ever done this. No one had ever left. It was unthinkable. Then the chamber erupted in a wave of noise and thought. The mental voice of the proctor cut through it all, cold and sure. "You are bluffing," the proctor said. The thought was full of contempt. "It is a pathetic attempt to scare us. It will not work. Without our technology, your ships cannot cross the stars. Without our protection, the pirates and scavengers will pick your worlds clean. You will be alone in the dark. You will beg to come back, and when you do, the sanctions will be severe. You will be a servant race for 1,000 years for this insult." Jin looked at the glowing form of the proctor. He did not look at the Cathar hissing at him. He did not look at the many-legged insectoids clicking their claws. He kept his eyes on the light. "We are not bluffing," Jin said quietly. The withdrawal is real. We will build what we need to build. We will go where we need to go, with your permission or without it. He turned around. He did not wait for a reply. Sue and Hana turned with him. Together, the three humans walked off the platform. Their footsteps were the only sound. They walked through the grand chamber, past the silent, staring aliens, and out the great doors. The doors closed behind them with a deep, final boom. Back on their small ship, the silence was broken. The door to their meeting room slid shut, and Sue let out a long, shaky breath. He leaned against the wall. They really think we were just making a threat. Hana placed her data slate on the table. Her hands were still trembling. They think we are stupid children throwing a tantrum. They have no idea what we have already started. Jin walked to the large window looking out at the stars. Below them was the council world, a beautiful planet of perfect blue and green. A planet that had not known war or want for 1,000 years. A planet that had just kicked humanity out. They have to think we are bluffing, Hana, Jin said, still watching the stars. It is the only way our plan will work. If they believed we were serious, they would destroy our home world today, right now, to stop us. Their peace is that fragile. Their fear is that great. He turned to face his team. His calm face was gone. Now his eyes burned with a fierce light. They think we are asking for a bigger piece of their pie. They do not understand that we are building our own kitchen, and we are about to start a fire they cannot put out. He walked over to the ship's communication panel. He pressed a button. A secure channel opened. A face appeared on the screen. It was a man with a tired face and strong hands. His name was Min. He was on a space station near Jupiter. Jin looked at the man on the screen. Min, it's done. They said no. We are on our own. Min on the screen nodded slowly. He did not look surprised. He looked ready. Good, Min said, his voice rough. Asking for permission was a waste of time anyway. The Titan womb is already awake, and it is hungry. The solar system was no longer a quiet backwater. It had become a forge, a place of fire and metal and purpose. While the Galaxy Council waited for humanity to fail, humanity was working. They were not fighting or crying. They were building. At the heart of this great work was the Titan womb. It was not a single machine in one place. It was a cloud of activity spread across the entire asteroid belt. Thousands of asteroids were being taken apart. Great machines latched onto them, breaking them down into their basic parts: iron, nickel, carbon, silicon. These raw materials were then fed into the heart of the womb. The brain of this operation was a space station orbiting the dwarf planet Ceres. From here, a man named Min watched over everything. His face was lined with tiredness, but his eyes were clear and focused. He was the project director. On his screens, he could see every part of the great project. He saw the streams of raw material. He saw the nano-assemblers, tiny machines smaller than a dust speck swimming in space like a silver fog. He saw them coming together, forming shapes, building things too big to imagine. His second in command, a man named Chul, stood beside him. Chul pointed to one of the main screens. A complex shape was forming there. It was long and sharp like a metal tooth. It did not look like the smooth, elegant ships of the Galaxy Council. This thing was all hard angles and thick plates. It looked brutal. The Council's peace pact, Chul said, his voice dry. It has two big rules. Rule 1, no self-replicating nano-assemblers. He gestured at the silver fog on the screen. We are breaking that rule. Rule 2, no artificial intelligence for guiding evolution or creation. He pointed to the complex code running on another screen. The code was making its own decisions, improving the design of the ship even as it was being built. We are breaking that rule too. They would call this a weapon of mass destruction. Min did not take his eyes off the screen. The ship was growing. He could see the nanomachines swarming over its surface, adding layer upon layer of armor. They defined it as a weapon, Min replied, his voice calm and steady. They see only what they fear. We are using it as a tool to build a future they are too afraid to imagine. Down on Earth, in a secret bunker deep under a mountain, Ambassador Jin watched the same feed. He was no longer in his fine suit. He wore simple, practical clothes. Hana and Sue were with him. They watched the birth of the first ship. It is ugly, Sue said, his voice a little awed. It is honest, Jin replied. It does not pretend to be peaceful. It is what it is, a shield, a strong wall. The Council will see it as a challenge, Hana said, looking worried. They will see it as proof that we are violent and dangerous. They were always going to see us that way, Hana, Jin said. The moment we said no to them, we became dangerous in their eyes. Now, we are just making sure their definition of dangerous is something we can survive. Back in the asteroid belt, the work continued day and night. The nanomachines did not need to sleep. The AI mind did not get tired. It learned. It adapted. The first ship, the one that looked like a metal tooth, was almost finished. Min had named it the Gwangju. It was a name from an old city on Earth, a city known for its fierce spirit. A smaller ship, a scout vessel, flew close to the Gwangju. Its pilot was a young woman named Yuna. Her job was to inspect the work. She guided her small ship around the massive hull of the Gwangju. It was like a fly buzzing around a giant. "Control, this is Scout 1, Yuna said into her comms. "The primary armor layer is complete. I am reading integrity at 98%. The nanoswarm is now beginning work on the engine housings." She looked at the hull through her cockpit window. It was not smooth. It had a strange, almost living texture like scales. As she watched, a patch of the hull seemed to ripple. A cloud of silver dust moved over a small seam, welding it shut perfectly. The ship was healing itself as it was being born. "It's amazing," she whispered to herself. In the command center on Ceres, Chul looked at a new set of data. His face grew grim. "Min, we have a problem. The energy requirements for the main cannon are higher than we thought. The power core we designed, it might not be enough." Min walked over to look at the numbers. He studied them for a long moment. "The design is locked. We cannot change the ship now." "Then the cannon will be weaker than we planned," Chul said. "It might not pierce the shields of a council battleship." Min shook his head. "We are not thinking like them. They rely on shields, we do not. Our armor is our shield. Their weapons are designed to overload shields. What about weapons designed to smash through armor?" Chul looked confused. "What do you mean?" "Change the cannon's load," Min said. "Forget the energy beam. Make it a kinetic cannon, a giant gun. It will fire a solid piece of metal. Very heavy, very dense. No shield can stop kinetic energy like that. It will transfer all its force into the target. It will shake them apart from the inside." Chul's eyes widened. It was so simple, so primitive, and so brilliant. The Council had not fought a war with kinetic weapons in centuries. Their defenses were not designed for it. "You want to throw a rock at them," Chul said, a slow smile spreading on his face. "I want to throw a very, very big rock," Min corrected him. "At a very, very high speed. Tell the AI to redesign the main weapon system. Use the same materials we have. Make it simple. Make it strong," the order was sent. On the screen, the design of the Gwangju changed. The long, slender barrel of the energy cannon was replaced by a shorter, much thicker barrel. It looked crude. It looked deadly. Days turned into weeks. The Gwangju was finished. It floated in the darkness, a black shape against the stars. It had no bright lights, no elegant curves. It was a thing of pure function. Then the nanoswarms moved to the next frame. And the next. Soon 9 other ships just like it were taking shape. The Busan, the Seoul, the Daegu. They were the first of their kind. The first human war fleet in history. Min stood on the observation deck of the Ceres station, looking out at the 10 ships. They were dark and silent, but soon they would wake up. He felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. He was not building exploration ships. He was building destroyers. He was building the tools of a war he hoped would never come, but he knew in his heart that it was already on its way. The Galaxy Council would not just let them go. Their peace was a lie, and lies must be defended with force. He turned away from the window. The forge was hot. The hammer was ready. They just had to wait for the enemy to bring the anvil. The Galaxy Council did not wait long. The news of the human fleet was a shock that rippled through the stars. The humans were not just building one ship. They were building many. The images from long-range probes showed ugly, brutal vessels taking shape in the asteroid belt. The Council was furious. The humans were not just disobedient children anymore. They were a disease that needed to be cut out. A fleet was assembled. It was not the full might of the Council, but a peacekeeping force. It was meant to be a show of strength, a lesson. The fleet was made of 10 ships from the Xylos and 10 from the Cathar. The Xylos ships were smooth and organic like glowing seeds. The Cathar ships were angular and insect-like, covered in sharp points. They were beautiful and ancient and powerful. They moved into the Sol system with calm confidence. They expected the humans to surrender. On the bridge of the lead Xylos ship, the commander watched the human world on the screen. His name was unpronounceable to humans, but his thought was clear. They will see our strength. They will bow. On Earth in the bunker, the alarms were screaming. Hana looked at the main display, her face pale. They are here. 20 ships. They are passing the orbit of Neptune. Jin stood up. His face was hard. So it begins. Send the signal to Min. The first fleet is to engage. No surrender. Protect the Titan womb at all costs. In the command center on Ceres, Min received the order. He looked at Chul and gave a single sharp nod. It is time. Wake them up. Across the asteroid belt, on the 10 dark ships, lights began to glow. The Guangzhou was the first to power up. On its bridge, Captain Day sat in his command chair. He was a man who had once been a pilot for cargo ships. Now he was the captain of a warship. He looked at his crew. They were all young, their faces tight with fear and excitement. All stations. Report, Day said, his voice calm. Engines are green. An engineer named Jay said, armor integrity at 100%. Another officer reported, weapons are online, said a young woman named Mi. She was the weapons officer. Her hands were steady on her console. Day looked at the main screen. The enemy fleet was a cluster of bright, beautiful lights moving towards them. They looked like jewels. The Guangzhou looked like a black rock. All ships form on me, Day said into the fleet comms. Remember the plan. We are the anvil. We do not dance. We hit hard and we hit once. The 10 human ships moved out from the asteroid belt. They did not move with the graceful curves of the Council ships. They moved in straight, aggressive lines. Their engines glowed with a harsh blue light. The Xylos commander saw them coming. He felt a wave of contempt. Their ships were so slow. So clumsy, he sent a message. Human vessels. You are in violation of galactic law. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning. On the Guangzhou, Day heard the message. He smiled a thin, cold smile. Open a channel to the lead ship. The channel opened. This is Captain Day of the Earth ship Guangzhou, he said. You are in our home. Turn around and leave. This is your only warning. The Xylos commander was shocked by the boldness. He gave the order. Target their lead ship. Disable its engines. Show them the price of arrogance. The Xylos ships glowed brighter. Beams of pure energy shot out from them. They were designed to overload shields and burn out electronic systems. The beams struck the Guangzhou. Nothing happened. The energy washed over the black, scaled armor of the human ship. It was absorbed. It was dissipated. A little smoke rose from the point of impact. But then a silver cloud of nanomachines swarmed over the spot, repairing the damage instantly. The armor was not just thick. It was alive. It could heal. On the bridge of the Guangzhou, the ship shuddered, but the lights did not even flicker. Their energy weapons are ineffective, Mi reported, a note of triumph in her voice. Armor holding at 97%. Day leaned forward. Now it is our turn. All ships target the lead Xylos vessel. Aim for its primary power core. Fire kinetic cannons. The human ships did not glow. There was no bright beam of light. Instead, there was a deep, throaty roar that vibrated through space itself. From the thick barrels of the Guangzhou and its sister ships, massive tungsten slugs were launched. They were not energy. They were just metal, but they were moving so fast they were almost invisible. The Xylos ship's shields flared brightly as the first slug hit. The shield was designed to stop energy. It could not stop a solid object moving at such a speed. The slug passed straight through the shield like it wasn't even there. It punched into the beautiful, smooth hull of the Xylos ship. It tore through decks and rooms and machinery. Then it exploded deep inside the ship. The effect was devastating. The Xylos ship did not just get a hole. It was ripped apart from the inside. A series of secondary explosions tore it into pieces. The beautiful glowing seed became a cloud of fire and debris. The silence on the Council fleet's comms was absolute. They were stunned. They had never seen a ship destroyed so quickly, so brutally. Their technology was 1,000 years old. It had no answer for this simple, primitive weapon. The Cathar ships, seeing this, broke their formation. They were warriors. They understood this kind of fight. They swarmed forward, firing their own weapons. These were plasma cannons, hotter than the surface of a star. The plasma splashed against the hull of the Busan. The armor glowed red-hot in spots, but it did not melt through. The nanomachines worked frantically, pulling heat away and rebuilding the damaged metal. Focus fire on the Cathar swarm. Day ordered. Use point defense guns. They are closer now. Smaller barrels on the human ship spun to life. They fired a storm of smaller projectiles. It was like a metal cloud. The Cathar ships were faster, more agile, but they could not dodge everything. The small projectiles chewed away at their hulls, tearing off limbs and weapons. One Cathar ship managed to get very close to the Guangzhou. It tried to ram it. The insect-like ship slammed into the human vessel's side. The Guangzhou shook violently. Alarms sounded on the bridge, but the Cathar ship came off worse. Its pointed front was crushed against the Guangzhou's incredibly dense armor. The human ship was scarred but operational. The Cathar ship drifted away, broken and dead. The battle did not last long. The Council's tactics were useless. Their weapons were wrong. Their shields were meaningless. The human fleet moved through them like a hammer through glass. Within an hour, the peacekeeping fleet was gone. Half the ships were destroyed. The other half were damaged and fleeing back into deep space. On the bridge of the Guangzhou, the crew was quiet. They had won. They looked at the screen, at the floating wreckage that had been 20 powerful ships. They had done the impossible. Captain Day did not celebrate. He looked at the debris. He saw the cost of their victory. He knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. He opened a channel to Ceres. Director Min, the enemy fleet has been routed. The Titan womb is safe. In the bunker on Earth, Jin, Hana, and Sue watched the report. They saw the Xylo ship shatter. They saw the Cathar break and run. Hana let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. We won. Jin shook his head slowly. No, we just survived the first punch. Now the whole galaxy knows we can fight, and now they will be afraid. A frightened enemy is a dangerous enemy. They will not send a peacekeeping fleet next time. They will send everything they have. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. The human victory was not just a win, it was an earthquake. The story was simple and shocking. A human fleet built in secret had completely destroyed a council peacekeeping force. The images of the beautiful Xylo's ship shattering into pieces were played on every news channel. The Galaxy Council was in a panic. The main chamber, which was usually so calm and orderly, was now filled with noise and anger. The representatives were shouting, their translators buzzing with harsh words. The humans are monsters, the Cathar ambassador hissed, slamming a clawed hand on his platform. They use primitive, brutal weapons. They have no honor. The Luminarian Proctor pulsed with a cold, hard light. Silence. This bickering is pointless. The human threat is now clear. They have moved from being a nuisance to being a galactic danger. They must be erased. A Xylos representative, its form trembling with grief and rage, sent a psychic wave through the chamber. They murdered our people. They shattered a ship of peace. This is an act of war. We must gather the entire fleet. We must burn their worlds until the very rocks scream. The Proctor agreed. This was the only language these humans understood. Force. The motion is put forward. All member species will contribute their warships to a grand armada. We will assemble a fleet of 500 vessels. We will descend upon their sol system and wipe it clean of human life. We will make an example of them so that no species ever dares to challenge the peace again. The vote was swift and unanimous. The order was sent. From 100 worlds, from 1,000 shipyards, the ancient warships of the Council began to move. They gathered at a rally point just outside human space. It was the largest fleet assembled in a millennium. It was a fleet meant for total annihilation. On Earth, in the bunker, the mood was grim. They watched the sensor reports. They saw the countless enemy signals gathering. 500 ships. It was a number that made the heart stop. Sue looked at the screen, his face ashen. 500. Our 10 ships fought 20. How can we fight 500? It is impossible. Hana was running numbers on her data slate. She shook her head. The math does not work, Jin. Even if we build 50 more ships, even if each of our ships takes out 10 of theirs, we still lose. The Titan womb cannot build fast enough. Jin sat quietly. He looked at the image of the massive alien fleet. He looked at the faces of his team. They were afraid. They thought this was the end. He had known this would happen. He had always known that in a straight fight, they would lose. Humanity's strength was not in matching the enemy's power. It was in changing the game. They are doing exactly what we thought they would, Jin said, his voice quiet but firm. Hana looked up. What do you mean?
They are coming to destroy us.
Yes, Jin said. They are bringing their entire strength to one place. They are putting all their trust in one thing, their idea of peace. The Peace Pact, Sue frowned. I do not understand. The Pact is just a piece of paper. It will not stop their missiles. The Pact is not just paper, Jin corrected him. It is the foundation of their whole society. It is their law, their religion, their identity. For 1,000 years they have believed it is unbreakable. It is the reason they can have a fleet of 500 ships from different species without them turning on each other. They all believe in the same rules. He stood up and walked to the main display. He pointed at the fleet. They think we built a bigger gun. They are wrong. We built a key to the cage they put themselves in. He turned to Hana. It is time. Send the final command to the Titan womb. Activate the logic bomb. Hana's eyes widened. Jin, are you sure? Once we do this, there is no going back. We will break the galaxy. Jin's face was like stone. The galaxy is already broken. It is just a beautiful pieces held together by a lie. We are going to show them the crack. On Ceres, Min received the order. He and Chol were in the deepest part of the station, in front of a console that was not connected to any other system. This was the heart of the project they had hidden from everyone, even from most of their own people. The Grand Armada has formed, Min said. Jin has given the order. Chol took a deep breath. This is it. We are not just breaking their fleet. We are breaking their minds, Min nodded. The Council thinks peace is a thing you enforce with weapons. Let us show them what real chaos looks like. He pressed a sequence of buttons. A final authorization code was entered. The Titan womb had not been idle. While it built ships, its powerful AI had also been working on another task. It had been studying the Galactic Peace Pact. Not the words, but the data itself. It had found the central data core, the one place where the original quantum-locked treaty was stored. The one that was supposed to be unchangeable. The logic bomb was not a virus. It was more clever than that. It was a single perfect impossible edit. Across the galaxy in the central archive of the Council, the guardians of the data felt a sudden strange ripple. It was over in a microsecond. They checked the systems. Everything seemed normal. The Peace Pact was still there, but it was not. In the office of the Cathar ambassador, an aide rushed in, its scales ruffled in confusion. Ambassador, a message from the homeworld. They are asking why we have abandoned the Pact. The ambassador hissed. What foolishness is this? We have done no such thing. But the document, the aide stammered. The original Pact? Our signature is gone. At the same moment, the Xylos representative was receiving a similar message. The humans! They have tampered with the sacred text. The Cathar signature is missing. They have betrayed us. Panic began to spread. Every species checked the central record. The same thing had happened to all of them. The signatures of every founding species had vanished. The Pact, the thing that bound them all together, was now blank where their names should be. And in the place of the author, the sole creator and guarantor of the new Galactic Peace Pact, was a single new signature, humanity. The message was clear. Humanity was not just another member. According to the most sacred document in the galaxy, humanity was now in charge. They had written the rules. The effect on the Grand Armada was immediate and total. The fleet was just about to jump into human space. The order was given. But then the news arrived. The Cathar fleet commander looked at the message from his government. The Xylos had removed their signature. They had betrayed the Pact. Why was he here, fighting beside them? He immediately ordered his ships to turn around. They would not fight for a lie. The Xylos commander saw the Cathar ships turning their weapons away from the humans and towards his own fleet. He saw the message that the Cathar had initiated the change. He believed the Cathar had conspired with humanity to take over the galaxy. The unified command structure shattered. Accusations flew across the comms. The Luminarian Proctor's orders were ignored. The fleet, a moment ago a perfect weapon, dissolved into chaos. Ships from different species faced each other. Weapons armed, trust completely gone. The Peace Pact was broken. The lie of their unity was exposed. On the bridge of the Guangzhou, Captain Day watched his sensors in disbelief. The massive enemy fleet was not advancing. It was turning in on itself. The signals showed weapons powering up but not aimed at Sewell. They were aiming at each other. In the bunker on Earth, Sue stared at the screen, his mouth open. What? What is happening? They are fighting each other? Hana looked at Jin. a slow understanding dawning on her face. "You did not shatter their fleet," she whispered. "You shattered their peace." Jin watched the galaxy tear itself apart on the screen. He felt no joy, only a cold, hard satisfaction. "They thought we were bluffing about building a weapon," he said. "They never imagined the target. Their weapon was fear. Ours was the truth." The silence in the Galactic Council chamber was not peaceful. It was the silence of a tomb. The beautiful, shimmering light of the luminarian proctor flickered weakly. It was trying to speak, to give orders, but no one was listening. The chamber was a scene of chaos. The representatives were no longer a united council. They were a room full of enemies. The Cathar ambassador was on his feet, his claws extended. He pointed a shaking talon at the Xylos representative. "You did this! You conspired with the humans! You erased your name from the Pact to blame us!" The Xylos' psychic reply was a wave of pure, hot anger. "Liar, it was your kind. Your ships turned on us first. You have planned this betrayal for generations." A representative from a smaller, bird-like species squawked in panic. "Our signature is also gone. We are no longer bound by the trade agreements. The tariffs on Higalan spices are now void." No one cared about the spices. The foundation of their civilization had vanished in an instant. The Great Peace was not a gentle philosophy. It was a system. It decided who owned which star systems. It decided who could build what ships. It decided everything. Now the rulebook was gone. Every agreement, every border, every law was suddenly in question. On the main display screen, a live feed showed the Grand Armada. It was not a fleet anymore. It was a potential battlefield. The Cathar ships had formed a defensive circle, their weapons pointed outwards at their former allies. The Xylos ships had done the same. The other species' ships were pulling back, confused and leaderless. A single wrong move, a single nervous finger on a trigger, and the greatest fleet ever assembled would begin destroying itself. The proctor's voice finally cut through the noise, a weak and desperate thought. "This is a human trick. Can you not see? They have tampered with the data core. We must stay united. We must still destroy them." The Cathar ambassador let out a harsh, scraping laugh. "United under what law? The Pact is gone. You have no authority over us anymore. For all we know, you luminarians helped the humans do this to gain power." The accusation hung in the air. Distrust, once planted, grew like a poisonous weed. Every species looked at the others and saw a potential traitor. The peace they had enjoyed for 1,000 years had been a delicate bubble. The humans had not popped it with a sword. They had popped it with a single sharp thought. On Earth, in the command bunker, the mood was one of stunned disbelief. They watched the galactic news feeds. They saw the reports of borders closing. They saw the arguments over mining rights in neutral systems. They saw the Grand Armada, a symbol of absolute power, now frozen in a standoff. Sue shook his head, watching a feed from a Xylos news network. "They are accusing the Cathar of stealing a prototype engine design from 50 years ago. They are bringing up old grievances, things that happened before the Pact." Hana nodded slowly. "It is all coming back. All the old hatreds, the old wars. They did not forget them. They just buried them under the Pact. We took away the shovel." Jin sat silently, observing it all. He felt no joy in the chaos. He saw the fear and the anger on the alien faces. He knew that people would suffer because of what they had done, but he also knew it was the only path forward. The peace was a cage, he said, more to himself than to the others. "We did not destroy the galaxy. We just opened the door to the cage. What they do now is their choice." On the bridge of the Guangzhou, Captain Day and his crew watched the sensor data. The imminent threat was gone. The massive energy signatures of the enemy fleet were now pointing in every direction except towards Earth. M.E., the weapons officer, let out a long, slow breath. "So we are not going to die today?" "Not today," Day said quietly. He looked at the confused swarm of ships on his screen. "The war is over, but I think something much worse has begun." Back in the galaxy, the consequences spread like a virus. A trading post on the edge of Cathar space, which had been neutral for centuries, was suddenly claimed by both the Cathar and the Xylos. A small skirmish broke out. No ships were destroyed, but a freighter was damaged. It was the first act of violence between major species in 1,000 years that was not sanctioned by the Council. The news of the skirmish spread, causing more panic. Alliances that had seemed eternal were now broken. Species were recalling their ambassadors. They were fortifying their borders with their own ships, not the Council's. The central government of the galaxy had ceased to function in a single day. The Luminarian Proctor floated alone in the now empty council chamber. Its light was dim. It had spent a millennium maintaining order, enforcing the rules, guiding the galaxy. And now it was all gone. The humans had not fought them with guns and ships. They had fought them with an idea. The idea that their peace was a lie, and the galaxy had believed it. The Proctor received a final message. It was from the Xylos High Command. They were formally withdrawing from all council treaties and institutions. They were expelling all Luminarian officials from their space. The Proctor did not respond. It had no more authority to respond. The Great Peace was over. The humans had shattered it not by being stronger, but by being smarter. They had shown everyone that the Emperor had no clothes. In the bunker on Earth, Jin finally stood up. The screens were still showing the chaos, but he had seen enough. "Send a message to all human ships and colonies," he said to Hana. "The immediate threat has passed, but we are not safe. The galaxy is now a wild and dangerous place. We must be ready for what comes next." Hana looked at him. "What comes next, Jin?" Jin looked at the stars on the main screen. They were the same stars as before, but the universe around them had changed forever. "Now," he said, "we get to decide what kind of species we want to be. We are no longer the children in the cage. We are the ones who opened the door. We have to be ready to walk through it." The chaos in the galaxy did not calm down. It grew. The old rules were gone. There were no new rules to take their place. Every species was on its own. Small fights broke out over valuable planets and shipping routes. The great fleets did not fight a big war. Instead, they went home to protect their own borders. The universe became a much quieter and much more dangerous place. On Earth, people watched the news. They saw the galaxy tearing itself apart. Many people felt afraid. They wondered if humanity had made a terrible mistake. They had wanted freedom, but they had created a jungle. Jin knew he had to speak to them. He stood in a simple room and a camera broadcast his face to every screen on the planet. "People of Earth," he began. His voice was calm but serious. "We are safe for now. The great fleet that came to destroy us is gone, but the galaxy we knew is also gone. We broke the old system. We did this because it was a cage. It did not let us grow. It did not let us become who we are meant to be." He looked directly into the camera. "Some of you are afraid. You see the fighting, and you think we created a monster. But we did not create the monster. The monster was always there, hiding under the mask of peace. We just took off the mask. Now the truth is out, and the truth, no matter how ugly, is always better than a beautiful lie." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Our work is not over. It has just begun. We have a chance now. A chance to build something new. Not a cage of rules, but a future of our own choosing. It will be hard. It will be dangerous. But it will be ours." When he finished, the silence on Earth was thoughtful. People were still afraid, but they also felt a new feeling. Purpose. In the asteroid belt, the work continued. But the work had changed. Min stood on the command station looking at the new plans. The Titan womb was no longer just building warships. Chol stood next to him, pointing at the screens. "The first colony ship is taking shape. We are calling it the Hope. It is designed to carry 10,000 people to a new star system, a system we can call our own." Min nodded. "We cannot stay here forever. The galaxy may be busy now, but they will not forget us. We need to spread out. We need to grow." The design of the Hope was different from the Guangzhou. It was rounder, fuller. It had large sections for growing food and places for families to live. It was still built with the same strong, self-healing armor. The galaxy was still a dangerous place after all. Captain Day and the crew of the Guangzhou were given a new mission. They were not soldiers waiting for a war anymore. They were explorers. Their first mission was to scout nearby star systems for possible new homes for humanity. They were to look for planets with water and air. They were to map safe routes through the stars. On the bridge of the Guangzhou, Dai addressed his crew. "Our job is different now. We are not looking for a fight. We are looking for a future. We are the ones who will find the new places where our children will live." The crew felt a new energy. Fighting for survival was one thing. Building a future was another. It felt better. Months passed. The galaxy's big war never came. Instead, there was a tense quiet. The major species were too busy watching each other to worry about humans. Humanity used this time well. The first colony ship, the Hope, was finished. It was a beautiful sight. It looked like a promise. It was loaded with people, with seeds, with machines, and with hope. It left the solar system and headed for a bright star far away. It was the first of many. Jin, Hana, and Sue still worked in the bunker, but their work was different now. They were no longer planning for a single battle. They were planning for the next 100 years. They were making contact with the smaller species in the galaxy, the ones who had also been pushed around by the old council. They offered trade. They offered friendship. They did not offer rules. One day a message arrived. It was from the Luminarian Proctor. The being of light appeared on their screen, but its light was dim and slow. Ambassador Jin? The Proctor's thought came. Weak and tired. The council is dead. The peace is broken. You won. Jin looked at the image. He felt no victory. It was not a game to win or lose, Proctor. It was a choice. You chose to stand still. We chose to walk forward. The Proctor was silent for a long moment. What is your purpose now? Do you mean to conquer the galaxy with your new ships? Jin shook his head. No, we mean to live in it. We mean to learn its secrets. We mean to grow. We will defend ourselves if we must. But we will not build another cage. Not for anyone else and not for ourselves. The Proctor seemed to understand. The pursuit of endless growth, of constant change, was a more powerful and more terrifying force than any fleet. The humans were not just another species. They were a force of nature. They were the end of stillness. The communication ended. Jin turned away from the screen. He looked at Hana and Sue. Come on, he said. Let's go upstairs. Let's see the sun. They walked out of the bunker for the first time in a long time. They stood on the surface and felt the fresh air. They looked up at the blue sky. The same sky, but a different world. A world that was no longer a prisoner. Jin looked up at the clouds, thinking of the Guangzhou exploring new stars and the Hope carrying its precious load to a new home. They thought we were bluffing about building a weapon, he said softly. But the real weapon was never the ship or the logic bomb. The real weapon was our refusal to be afraid of the future. They wanted peace. We wanted tomorrow. And tomorrow always comes.